Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be looking at a rather easy skill and ability. Not really much to it, so this video might be short. It's called Levitation Mastery. Levitation Mastery is a passive ability that the Warlock has that allows him to improve his damage and his other things while also reducing the requirements of the weapon, which is really cool. So in this particular case, you can see that I have negative 50% to the requirements up here. And the negative 50% to requirements is going to make most of the weapons in the game rather easy to equip. Let's go ahead and reset our character real quick so we can take a look at Levitation Mastery from the beginning. And oh my god, forget a couple people called it Leviathan Mastery, and I keep calling it Leviathan Mastery by accident now. GG. So first level, it's only 25%, attack rating 40, critical hit chance 5%, and only 2% negative requirements. As you can see, my Colossus Death Sword has 136 strength requirement and 66 dexterity. I also have some other items in here which have varying requirements, like for instance a bow, which is sitting on my mercenary right now, isn't it? So I have a bow right here, which is on the mercenary, which has 167 dex and 134 strength. So as you put points into Levitation Mastery, it's going to increase your damage off weapon enhancement. It's also going to increase your critical strike chance, which is your chance to deal double damage. And it starts to increase the weapon requirements up to a certain point. And as you pump points into this, you're going to be able to get some pretty nice negative requirements on your weapon. And you're going to get good damage, attack rating, as well as critical strike chance, which is all going to be really nice for a melee build. And as you can see, things like the bow, which used to have crazy requirements, now only require 84 dex and 67 strength. And the Death Colossus Sword, which used to have like 136 strength requirement, is now 45, which is very powerful indeed for making a low stat character and then dumping a lot of your points into HP so you have higher hit point pools. Now, keep in mind that this requirement is only for you. So if your mercenary, for instance, does not have enough requirements to equip the bow, the requirements that are written here are not for your mercenary. And we've already had like 3 or 4 people so far talk about how they can't put something on their mercenary, and the mercenary has the requirements for the item, but they forgot that they have points in Levitation Mastery, which decreases the overall requirement for you, but not for your merc. Another interesting thing about Levitation Mastery, besides the inherent bonuses that it gives, is that it's also a synergy. So it is a synergy for Psychic Ward, as you can see right here, right there. We've got Levitation Mastery plus 15 damage absorbed per level, which is really good because if you build Levitation Mastery for any of your builds, which it's at least a solid 1-point wonder, by the way, you're going to be able to get synergy bonuses for your Psychic Ward, which is a way that you can absorb damage. Levitation Mastery is not a synergy for like a large number of things though, and if you look around you'll see that it doesn't really help out most of the stuff in the game. But at least for Psychic Ward, which is a really good defensive mechanic, you can get a good bonus from that. Now, you don't necessarily have to even put 20 points into Levitation Mastery, and this is something that I would definitely caution you on. Like, if you do want to put 20 points into it, then by all means go ahead. However, it's really good as a 1-point wonder as well, or even just like a 2 or 3 or 4-point wonder, depending on the exact amount that you need. The reason why is because it starts to curtail as you level it up. So if you take a look at it from a certain point of view, as you put points into it, you'll notice that it starts out with relatively high critical strike chance, and the critical strike chance only goes up by, say, 1% per level, and at a certain point it only starts to go up by a very small amount per level, up to 30%, at which the point it caps. And honestly, the benefit from adding points into it past a certain point is going to be less and less useful. In other words, there's a magic level there where reaching a specific point is usually considered the sunken cost fallacy, where you've already put in enough, right? You don't need to put in any more because any more is just going to be wasted because you're not getting significant benefit from each additional point past a certain degree. Man. So at this point, when you're looking at the ability, what you're really looking at is how many points do I need, not how many points should I spend. Like, how many points does my character actually need with this particular ability? And if the answer is not that many, you might just 1 point wonder it and let your plus the skills take over. Or you might put in, say, like 10 or so points. You can clearly see that it caps out at 30%, and once it caps out at 30% on the critical hit chance, that might be the point at which you stop dumping points into it. So, like, if I click here right now, you can see that I can only put in 17 base points with my plus the skills. So my current plus the skills, 17 base points, gets me to 30%, which means that you don't really need to go further than that. If you have more plus the skills than that, you might put in less base points into this in general, just simply because, well, you're not getting as much benefit from it anymore. And also, likewise, the weapon requirements also seems to stop growing, I believe. Let me double check by putting some strength in so my equipment actually functions. And now we have it at what, level 27. Well, let's do a quick reset. I'll put the strength points in first. And then that way we can get a higher plus to skills. So critical strike caps out at 30% at base points 15. And then the negative requirements caps out at 50% at base points 18, and so forth and so on. I have a feeling with this particular ability, it's just going to be one of those abilities that you are micromanaging it for your setup. You don't really need to dump maximum points into it, and in fact, avoiding dumping maximum points into the Levitation Mastery, I think is going to be a good thing, because it's going to be that you have more points to spend elsewhere, like more points to spend in your Hex Purge, or more points to spend in your, your Blade Warp for the synergy bonus for your Echoing Strike, and so forth and so on. Which is definitely going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as we level up. It might be something that you just dump points into early on, and then later on, once you get your full gear set up, you do a respec and you min-max it correctly. I think that's pretty much it for Levitation Mastery. I think it's a good addition to the game. It's very similar to, any of the Barbarian Masteries or Claw Mastery on the Amazon, or the Assassin, or some of the passives like Deadly Strike, or Critical Strike rather, on the Amazon. So it's definitely a good one to invest points in if you're a physical character. I don't know why I need to say this though, but I'm going to say it anyway. This doesn't work with spells. For some reason or another, some people get the idea that things like this work with spells. I don't know where they get the idea that it works with spells. The damage is enhanced damage specifically for physical damage. I don't think it affects magic or any kind of elemental damage. The attack rating, of course, is only going to help a spell or an ability that actually uses attack rating. The critical chance only works on the physical damage attacks that are physical melee or physical ranged damage. If they do have some sort of conversion, as long as the critical strike happens before the conversion, like Berserk, the critical strike can work on a physical melee or physical ranged attack before the conversion. And the weapon requirements, unfortunately, only works on your weapon. Which does mean that like shields and stuff like that can screw you up. And I think that's pretty much it. As always, do appreciate you guys and gals watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.